Hey, what's up everyone? It's Justin here, and today I've got the review for you of the Samsung Galaxy Note Edge. This was a device that kind of took us all by surprise at IFA. In the past, Samsung has liked to experiment with many different things, and the Note line as a whole could actually be considered one of them. In the past few years though, we have also seen some pretty crazy things, including the Samsung Galaxy Round and now the Samsung Galaxy Note Edge, both of which had some unique features that consumers have never seen before, nor did they ever ask for. But instead, it is Samsung's way of testing the market, and perhaps that could be the way of the future, and that is clearly the case here with the Samsung Galaxy Note Edge. In this review, I will be focusing on what differences does the Note Edge bring and whether or not you should care. Because after all, this is a Samsung Galaxy Note 4 with the Edge display and a few things that do accommodate it. So I definitely suggest you check out my full review of the Samsung Galaxy Note 4, which will be linked right below the like button. As in this video, I will not be talking much about the camera, nor will I show you any tests of it, but instead focus on the Edge aspect of the device. So on the spec sheet, I did mention that this is pretty much a Samsung Galaxy Note 4. No compromises there. It features a Qualcomm Snapdragon 805 processor that is clocked in at 2.7 GHz and an Adreno 420 GPU. Of course, you've also got 3GB of RAM inside. One difference though is that the battery inside the Note Edge is 3000 mAh as opposed to 3220 mAh on the Samsung Galaxy Note 4. It still features a 2560 by 1440 resolution QHD display, but it is measuring in at 5.6 inches as opposed to 5.7 inches on the Note 4, with the resolution of the Edge display coming in at 1440 by 160. As you can see, the back design does pretty much stay the same when you compare it to the Samsung Galaxy Note 4 with the fake leather design, which I'm actually a pretty big fan of, and of course you will also find the 16 megapixel camera, which I also did a dedicated camera test on, and that can also be found in the description. Flipping it over to the side, we can't forget about the S Pen, as after all it is still a Note device, and you'll also find your micro USB port for charging and syncing. On the top, you will find your 3.5mm headphone jack as well as IR blaster, and you will also notice the power button is located on the top. And although many people have complained about that being really uncomfortable, I don't really know where else Samsung could have put that power button unless you wanted it on the left side. The device itself measures in at 8.3mm thick compared to 8.5mm on the Note 4 and weighs in 2 grams lighter at 174 grams. So the first thing I would like to talk about is the display. The Samsung Galaxy Note Edge features a 2560 by 1440 plus 160 resolution display, measuring in at 5.6 inches, and like I said, that is 0.1 inches smaller than the Note 4. This results in a pixel density of 524. And I will tell you that the display shared on the Note 4 and the Note Edge is the best display I have ever seen on any smartphone. The sharpness is just beautiful, and the colors being represented look great as well. As you can see, the Edge display looks pretty much like a blowtorch being taken to the device and having it curve around through the edge of the device. Samsung has tried to make that as seamless as possible and primarily serve as a function to have major applications and shortcuts. On the back, you will also find your heart rate sensor like we see on the Samsung Galaxy S5 as well as the Note 4. And on the front, you will also find the fingerprint scanner located inside the home button. And I will tell you that from my personal experience, I would rather type in the PIN code. And in short words, I would describe it as a gimmick. Of course, the Samsung Galaxy Note Edge runs Android 4.4.4 KitKat with a Lollipop update hopefully coming early in 2015. It also has Samsung's TouchWiz skin, and although I'm not a huge fan of the TouchWiz skin, I definitely enjoy it on the Note series as it does bring exclusive features including that S Pen that we cannot forget about, and in this case, features that take advantage of that Edge display. So with the Samsung Galaxy Note Edge, they have actually made this their official flagship, although they do expect that the Samsung Galaxy Note 4 will by far outsell the Note Edge. The experience in terms of the software is just as snappy as you would expect. With a device of this caliber and spec sheet, you will experience no issues whatsoever when navigating through your basic functions, but whatever you throw at it, it seems to be able to handle no problem. On the left side, you also have the Flipboard integrated news feed that we have seen many companies try to integrate, with Google using Google Now and HTC Sense having their own version of that news feed. But now I'd like to just shift focus completely over to the Edge display. Like I said, the Edge display is a 1440 by 160 resolution display that kind of curves through to the edge of the device, and in a way it feels like it is a separate screen from the rest of the phone, but it's not. Samsung's intention with this display is to be able to have quick access apps and certain widgets and quick toggle settings accessible to you at all times wherever you are. On the home feed, you can see you can add any of your favorite apps there and access them very easily, and you also have a dedicated settings page as well, including Manage Panels, Express Me, but the first thing I'm going to show you is the Manage Panels, as that is the most important part of it. This allows you to enable and disable different panels, and there is also a small little app store that allows you to download additional panels for the Edge as well. Samsung has also opened up the APK to developers, hoping that they would create things that would take advantage of that Edge panel, and that is pretty much what's going to dictate the success of this Note display. With the current features that have been integrated by Samsung, I feel like few people would purchase the device simply for those features. But depending on what developers end up doing with that Edge display and what ends up coming out with it, that would really dictate whether or not consumers really do want an Edge display on their device. From my experience though, it is sort of just a conversation starter, and it was one of those crazy things that Samsung decided to try out. But I don't feel like we will see another iteration next year. I just never felt that it was really necessary and didn't find myself taking advantage of that Edge very often. A sacrifice though is when you're using your regular applications, the Edge display for the most part is pretty useless. And as you can see, it kind of just tries to stay out of the way a little bit with a little blank space that goes around the edge of the display, as it would be pretty strange to try to warp applications around that edge. One thing that I was also not really able to get used to was the fact that the edge was just on one side, and there really isn't a problem with that, but when I was typing I always felt like the keyboard was half warped over to the right side. So my final thoughts of the Note are pretty mixed. At first I looked at it and I thought it was a pretty cool concept, and it was definitely something that we didn't expect, which is what made it exciting. But after having a chance to use it, although it was fun to play around with, it just wasn't for me. And personally, I would have rather just purchased a Samsung Galaxy Note 4. And the fact that it also comes in at an extra cost depending on what carrier really can't make me justify why I should have an Edge display. But other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, be sure to hit that like button and make sure you let me know down in the comment section what you think of the Samsung Galaxy Note Edge, and I'll see you all in the next video.